begin, I'd like to give it a few seconds for the live stream to start. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Richard Duran. I'm a community planner with the Federal Highway Administration Virginia Division Office. I'll be leading this year's TMA certification review for the Richmond Regional Transportation Planning Organization. This review is conducted every 4 years, and it's basically to review and assist the MPOs in their planning processes. So we help review and ensure that the MPOs are okay, if everything looks good on the planning processes, and also to offer be a resource and offer any assistance that they might need help, or if there's any opportunities that might pop up. But to begin, I'd like to do introductions. Again, my name is Richard Duran. I'm with the Virginia Division Office, and I think we can go alphabetically down the list.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ronique Bishop. I'm in the process of getting my camera together, so forgive me, but I will show my face. My name is Ronique Bishop, community planner, and I'm assisting the Virginia Division with this review.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ivan Rucker. I am the statewide planner and freight program manager for the Federal Highway Virginia Division Office. I am also the incoming Richmond MPO Federal Highway representative.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Moore Diop. So I'm an environmental specialist PDP at the Virginia Division. So I'm here as a trainee just to learn how the process works.
Good morning. This is Marsha Fiol with the Virginia Department of Transportation. I'm in the Transportation Mobility Planning Division, the central office. I had the pleasure of working with all these great folks, both the FHWA and the district, and also occasionally with the MPOs as well. And we're thankful for all the cooperation, coordination everyone provides. And unfortunately, I can't see the list, so I'm guessing Fiol is somewhere next. So that's me, Marsha Fiol. Thank you.
Well, it's not, I don't know if we're going alphabetically still or not, but my name is Liz McAdory. I am also with Virginia Department of Transportation. I'm located in the Richmond district, and I'm the Richmond district planning manager. So the main liaison with the MPOs.
And Mark Briblett with Richmond district also. Been working with the MPO for a while, and happy to be here this morning.
My name is Eric Gregory. I'm legal counsel to the MPO and Plan RVA with FTA and Gore.
I'm Pat O'Bannon, and I'm not sure where O is at this point. I am the vice chair of the Henrico County Board of Supervisors, and I'm a member of the TPO. I'm here to observe and maybe comment. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I realized that D is pretty early on in the list, and I'm still working on my camera as well, but I plan to show myself in a few minutes. I'm Tiffany Dabinski. I am one of the statewide transit planning managers with the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation. I have served as the agency's representative for both Richmond and Tri-Cities for the past 4 years.
Good morning. This is Emily Del Ross. I'm the acting director of planning and scheduling at GRTC Transit.
Introduce myself. Hi, I am Ryan Long. I'm actually part of the federal review team. I'm with Federal Transit Administration. I'm working with Richard and the group. I am a community planner. I'm based in a regional office in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and with responsibilities, I have Maryland and Virginia. So I'm very excited about today's discussion. I think will be good to kind of hear from the MPO and other stakeholders, all the good work that you're doing. It's a good opportunity now to review not only review the planning process on our side, but also hear all the good work the MPO is doing. I know they do so much work. And we also want to hear about that as well too. So thank you and good morning, everyone.
I'm Chet Parsons. I'm Director of Transportation for the TPO, and I am looking forward to today's conversation. And I see that Adrian is with us, and I guess P comes before T, so she can go next.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Good morning. I'm Adrian Torres, Chief Development Officer at Grtc Transit System.
Good morning. I'm not sure where I am in the alphabet. I'm Sandra Norman. I'm the Civil Rights Division Administrator for the Virginia Department of Transportation, and I serve as your Title VI Coordinator. Thank you so much.
I guess I'm before T, so I might as well go. Ron Swikowski, Tri-Cities Area MPO. There's a lot of work that Richmond and Tri-Cities do together, so I'm trying to sit in as much as I can to provide any assistance that Chet and the folks may need along the way.
Good morning. My name is Farrell Solomon. I am the Richmond District Civil Rights Manager for VDOT. Thank you.
Richard, would you like for TPO staff to introduce themselves?
Yeah, please. Yeah, for whoever's attending, if they could go ahead and introduce themselves. Sorry that some folks can't see the list. I realize I can't see it either, but yeah, feel free to hop in if you haven't introduced yourself yet.
Good morning. My name is Trisha Robinson. I'm the Acting Planning Manager at GRTC.
Morning.
Hi, Diane
Jake
Fusco. Oh, sorry.
No worries,
Diane
you go.
Fusco with Plan RVA. I'm here supporting the RRTPO. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Jake Herman. I'm with Richmond District Planning VDOT.
Good morning. I'm Phil Riggin with Plan RVA staff.
And good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning, Ken Lance with Plan RVA staff.
And good morning, Todd Schad, VDOT Richmond District.
Hi, good morning. This is Miles Bushing. I'm with Plan RVA as well.
Good morning. I'm Greta Ryan with Plan RVA.
Hi, I'm Sulavarial, also with RRTPO staff, Plan RVA. Thanks.
Hello, this is Larry Hagan, also a VDOT Richmond District Planning staff.
Good morning, this is Chinny, Plan RVA staff.
Richard, I believe that may be everybody.
Okay, sounds good. If we did miss anybody, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Okay, so again, the federal team, it'll be actually 5 of us. Unfortunately, Mary Walker, she's our civil rights manager of the Virginia Division Office. She's not feeling well today, so she won't be able to participate. But Ivan and I will be sharing her discussion questions and kind of covering her section that she had in regards to civil rights and Title VI items. But then again, to introduce ourselves, so out of Federal Transit Administration is Ryan Long. Out of Federal Highway Administration, there's actually 2 divisions I'll be helping out. So out of the Pennsylvania division, it's Ronique Bishop. She's reached out and she offered to help me in this review and desk review and conducting a report. So greatly appreciate her hard work that she's doing and helping out with Virginia Division. Mary Walker, she's the Civil Rights Manager of the Virginia Division Office. Ivan Rucker, he's the statewide planner and freight planner of the Virginia Division Office, and myself. So before I jump in, to give you a quick overview of what a certification review is, basically it's just an in-depth documented review of the planning process. And the reason that we do this review is to ensure that planning and program process is consistent with federal law and regulations. And we conduct this review every 4 years for MPOs with populations of 200,000 or more. So essentially, if you're identified as a transportation management area. And also the certification review is not just a review of the MPO or its staff, rather it is a review of the planning process conducted by all agencies, state, MPO, and transit operators charged with carrying out the process on a daily basis. And you can refer to the regulation too, where it has discussion on its TMA certification review. But at the end of the day, what the certification review does is it really helps the MPOs identify any opportunities or any challenge areas, and also to commend MPOs in areas that they excel and they do well in too. And to move to the next section, we'll go over real briefly on the 2017 certification review. And I wanted to go over the quick recommendations and corrective actions that were decided from that. Is this coming up okay for everybody? If not, I can try to zoom in more.
Maybe zoom in just a bit.
Okay. I'll just exit out full screen. Okay. So I'll basically go in the order that we'll be going in throughout the day today on covering the topics. So the first topic would be organizational structure and bylaws. In 2017, a recommendation was made that it was recommended at a minimum that DRPT be entitled to offer and second motions and resolutions and otherwise enter into deliberations of the Richmond MPO. As well as for the benefit of the public's understanding, the federal team strongly recommended that the Richmond MPO Policy Board define clear purpose, roles, and responsibilities for the Richmond MPO Standing Executive Committee. And I just want to reach out to the Richmond MPO and kind of just get a quick status update and see how you guys are feeling on how this is progressing.
Sure, yes. The first item, I'm actually going to enlist the help of Eric Gregory, our legal counsel. This was a discussion back in 2017, and there's a 1995 letter and some clarification that I think would help to understand where we stand today with this. So Eric, do you want to give some background?
Yes, sir, Chet. Thank you very much. And I may even pass the ball to Mark Riblett with VDOT for the Secretary of Transportation's input. There is the governor of Virginia's designation letter from September 11th, 1995 sets forth the members of the MPO, and it's a 4-page document. It's obviously a little aged, but one of the bullet points setting forth the members of the MPO states that non-voting membership is to include the Federal Transit Administration, Federal Highway Administration, and others as may be mutually agreed to by the Metropolitan Planning Organization and the Commonwealth Secretary of Transportation. The letter doesn't specifically mention DRPT. It says one representative designated by and empowered to participate on behalf of the Commonwealth Secretary of Transportation. To date, it's our understanding that that representative that seat has been filled by VDOT. And the understanding is that the Secretary of Transportation, which encompasses VDOT and DRPT, the Secretary's views are adequately represented and inclusive of DRPT's input and consideration. So that was our understanding at the last go round in 2017. That continues to be the case as far as I know. I defer to Mark Riblet if he wants to share some views on that. But that's our understanding. If that needs to change, we were happy to cooperate with that, and we'll do everything we can to make that happen. But that's where it stands right now. DRPT is engaged in the deliberations of the MPO at all meetings. They are represented at all meetings. Jennifer DeBrule is their regular representative and comes and participates in discussions. They are a non-voting member at this point. So, but the VDOT and the Secretary of Transportation are certainly empowered to make motions and to vote as well. So that's my explanation at this point. Happy to answer any questions if I can.
Eric, this is Mark Riblet, and I will certainly agree with your summary. Certainly described exactly where we are as the Commonwealth, and I think the commitment from the Commonwealth is that all of the agencies within the Commonwealth will certainly work together as any way that we possibly can to assist the MPO and to make sure that all agencies are represented well. And just as you've described, VDOT specifically does not have a seat at the table because the seat is actually the Secretary's seat. And for a very long time, that has been taken very seriously in the sense that that is representing any and all of the needs of the Secretary, and any coordination that needs to happen in advance or as a result of any of the issues that come up at the meetings. We're certainly happy and committed to doing that with all of the agencies working together in the Commonwealth. That said, if there is a desire and need to do something different, I think we've always been open to those discussions as well, just as you had mentioned on the MPO side. So again, a very strong commitment to make sure that the representation is made across the table.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
And this is Chad. I guess one other point is that we're talking at the policy board level, at the TAC, at our technical committee. DRPT is very active, and if we were keeping a tally of motions and seconds, I believe DRPT may be towards the top.
I think it may be, just to add to that, I think that since the 2017 federal certification, we did change a little bit of our approach about our engagement. So we do recognize that we opted for VDOT to represent as the Secretary's seat just because of the capacity and the staff they have compared to DRPT, where when we're running at our at the top of our agency, we have roughly about 62 staff. And so what we have done for the Richmond and Tri-Cities MPOs in particular as well is that we have made sure to have coordination. And of course, in addition to technical advisory committee and the policy board, if there is a request for a DRPT to sit on any working groups or subcommittees, we have also been made available to be able to provide our technical assistance and guidance on that. So we have improved, I would say, our engagement, and we have never felt, I would say, that we have never been able to speak up or be able to provide any content in regards to any actions or motions related to the TPO.
Thank you, Tiffany. So I think, Richard, if I just might sort of consolidate Mark and Tiffany's input, since the Secretary of Transportation oversees both of those agencies in order to allow for consistency and in a unified voice. The secretary speaks more at the MPO level through by votes and motions through VDOT, at the TAC level by DRPT in many cases, and DRPT has an active role in the deliberations of the MPO as a whole. So their voice is certainly heard, and their participation is appreciated. Thank you.
Eric, Mark, and Tiffany, Ivan, hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that update.
Likewise, thank you, everybody.
So with respect to item number 2, regarding the executive committee, can anyone from the MPO chime in on that? In terms of
yes, I'd be happy to, Ivan. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
I'm going to share my screen. Our current bylaws. All right, can everybody see that? Has Section 2, Article 7, Section 2, the Executive Committee, and there is a listing of the specific powers and duties in the bylaws, and defining the purpose and roles and responsibilities, facilitate work program planning and management of the planning process, by providing policy guidance and input on future agenda items. And then it does serve a special role from time to time with additional powers granted to it by the full policy board. And some of the items that could be included are listed there, B1 through 4, recommending amendments to the work program, additions or revisions to the highway functional classification system, approving socioeconomic data and forecasts, and recommending endorsement of requests from local governments, agencies, and other organizations seeking grant funds. This is just a portion of what the executive committee has been asked to do and can be asked to do from time to time. One of the roles that they're serving right now is advising the policy board on development of a regional transportation forum, which is something that we have done on an annual basis. We took a year hiatus last year, but that's something that the ability of the executive committee to be nimble and to take on tasks from month to month is something that was greatly appreciated by the full policy board. I know that Mrs. O'Bannon has served in that capacity as well, and I think that the feedback I've gotten from the board is that the role of the executive committee is strong and is appreciated for its ability to provide feedback on these specific items.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate the update for this recommendation. Thank you. Richard, you want to move on to recommendation 3 and 4?
I think you're muted, Richard.
Sorry about that. I'm not used to Zoom. So the next one is Metropolitan Transportation Plan Development and Consultation and Coordination. The recommendation made was, it was recommended that the Richmond MPO coordinate with DRPT to provide 20 years of forecasted transit revenues for inclusion into the MTP.
Hey, Richard, can you bring those back on the screen for me, please?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
There we go.
And I can, this is Chad, I can jump in on that as well.
Okay, go ahead.
So we are, for those who aren't aware, we are approaching the end of the development of the 2045 MTP. So this is a very timely discussion item. As we developed projections for revenues for this cycle, one of the things that we did was not only look at traditional sources, including FTA and FHWA, but we also looked at regional sources. We now have a transportation authority, much like Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia. So this was we put particular care into developing our revenue projections from all of those sources. On the transit side, DRPT, the transit and rail, we were not able to get projections beyond the first 4 years for this plan, but worked closely with DRPT to develop projections for FY26 through FY45 for federal funds and match using an annual escalator of 1.7%. That's consistent with projections for other federal revenues from VDOT and also historic annual growth. DRPT did provide projections for state operating assistance and state capital grants. So on item 3, I believe that we were able to make sure that those forecasts were there, although and working hand in hand with DRP to make sure that happened.
Hey, Chet, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Regarding your revenue projections for years 26 to 45, the CBTA, did they provide you any revenue projections for that? For transit?
Yes, it's an interesting situation, and I believe Mr. Bushing is here, but we the TPO staff, Plan RVA staff, is also working as staff for the CBTA. So it was convenient that as we developed the projections for the long range plan, at the same time we were working on projections for CBTA. So based on the revenues received so far and the projections that came directly from VDOT in terms of the Department of Tax and central office, we were able to put together the projections for CBTA regional funds out through FY45.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chet. So number 4, it was recommended that the Richmond MPO update the 2004 Richmond Regional Bike and Pedestrian Plan.
Yes, the 2004 Bike and Pedestrian Plan is something that we get probably more attention on than anything else by the residents of the region. With the active bicycle and pedestrian community here, this was something that obviously in 2017 was a priority, and we are actively engaged right now in the development of that update. It's a complete rewrite, looking at it from a fresh perspective. The goal in 2019, when this planning process was started, was that it would be complete and folded in as a chapter in the long range plan, as well as a standalone bike and pedestrian plan like the 2004 version. We decided early this last spring that we wanted to make sure that this bike and pedestrian plan had enough of its own energy. So we held off on trying to shepherd it through for full adoption as a standalone until after the long range plan was completed. We do have, obviously we have a bike and pedestrian component in the long range plan. And most of that input came from this more comprehensive process. But we are now scheduled to do standalone public engagement and pursue adoption of the bike and pedestrian plan on its own in the fall of this year. So we're scheduled for the long range plan to be adopted in early October. And I would expect we can look for adoption of the bike ped plan in November, possibly, or even December. We want to make sure we have enough time for this to see its own light once the long range plan is adopted on its own. But in terms of the components, it's really exciting. I mean, we've done a lot of virtual engagement this year for both of these planning efforts, and it's really unprecedented the amount of attention that this has gotten, even with work from home and meetings from home and everything else from home. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and participation, not just from our standing committees, but from our active transportation groups and advocacy groups in the region. And we're really looking forward to having this plan updated because we think it's something that the region has really been asking for a long time.
Hey, Chet, this is Ivan. I'm sorry, but for everyone's understanding, I know I brought up CBTA. Can you briefly mention what the CBTA board, who are they comprised of, and their purpose and the relationship of the CBTA to the Richmond MPO? If you don't mind, Chad, I appreciate it.
Yes, no, happy to do that. And I'm going to pull it up. So I can get this to work. So I'm going to share my screen. Just about everything we're talking about today is on our website as well, if people want to go back and look. So the Central Virginia Transportation Authority is a regionally designated authority that came out of the 2020 General Assembly. It's similar in nature, although the function and composition is different than other authorities in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, as well as the Hampton Roads region. The CVTA is tasked with considering transportation funding for all types of projects at all levels. It collects taxes, specific taxes from a couple different sources. There's a 0.7% sales and use tax. There is a wholesale gas tax of 7.6 cents per gallon and 7.7 cents per gallon of diesel. And this gas tax and sales tax was, the collection was begun in the last fiscal year. So we have not seen a full year yet of tax collection for the region. CBTA funding is split into three different silos. The first is local funds. So 50% of the taxes collected go back directly to local municipalities. So our 9 member jurisdictions in the CBTA. And the goal there is for them to be able to use those funds directly for transportation specific projects at the local level. So we've had a couple of our rural jurisdictions have funded transportation planners or other transportation staff that do direct work on transportation. Our more urban jurisdictions have used it as match funds or to develop specific local projects that don't qualify for regional funds. So that's the 50%. We have another 15% that goes directly to GRTC to be used specifically for transit improvements in the region, regionally specific transportation improvements. They have to develop a new annual plan for how they expect to expend those funds. And that comes to the CBTA board. And then the final 35% is set aside for regionally significant transportation projects. And that's really the last silo that the board is working on right now is coming up with the metrics and the ranking and prioritization system to, one, define what regional is, and two, to start to develop their priorities and how they want to do that. So there's still discussions to be had on entering the bond market or pay as you go and how those funds will be best used. The board itself is made up of 16 members. So membership from each of our 9 jurisdictions, as well as 1 member from the House of Delegates, 1 member from the Senate of Virginia, 1 member from the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and then non-voting ex officio membership from DRPT, VDOT, the Virginia Port Authority, GRTC, and RMTA. And the Port Authority was just added this last General Assembly session. So they just started in their role in July of this year. So they're brand new members.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely.
Sorry, Richard.
No worries. Thank you for those questions, and thank you, Chad. So moving forward, my screen. So moving on to recommendation number 5. It was recommended that this MPO staff address the disparate impact based on the long-range plan EJ analysis.
Yes, so I'll jump in on that as well. One of the things that we have taken head on in this update, this 2045 plan, is to consider impacts, not just the federally designated EJ analysis, but just equity impacts in general across the region as we start to prioritize projects and come up with long-range plan recommendations. So we have this plan update is I think a pretty drastic departure from the 2040 plan, and it's something that we have prided ourselves in developing. It's fully driven by performance metrics and performance measures. We look at 15 different types of measures to consider. Those are on the front end. So as we test individual projects for their worthiness to be included in the plan, they're tested based on these 15 performance measures. And that is to help develop the prioritization and the ranking. On the tail end, which is where we are right now, we also do the system-wide EJ analysis to show the before and after impacts of each of the projects as a group, and in terms of the impact of the long-range plan itself on the transportation network in the region. I can certainly dive into more detail. Sulab is with us as well, and he's the project manager for the long-range plan. So if you have specific questions about particular performance measures or the EJ analysis itself, we could certainly provide those. I think one other thing to note is the driver for the analysis is twofold. We've done a lot of the equity analysis, the accessibility, and those types of things through our travel demand model. We've developed specific, we'll say, offshoot programs for that to look at economic impact and accessibility in particular. And then we also do our EJ analysis through a GIS-based model, looking at proximity to resources, including destinations, employment, population centers, our growth areas that we projected through our socioeconomic data development. And we think that the combination of those two types of analysis tools hopefully has served us well and provides a good predictor for where the needs will be in the future. Sulab, do you have anything else you wanted to add at this point?
Hey, Chet. Hey, Chet,
Yes,
this is
sir.
Ivan. Hey, we may have some more time for discussion on this particular item during
Got it.
The agenda item for public involvement, civil rights, EJ, as well as I think we have an agenda item related to the long-range transportation plan. So if we can reserve the extended discussion for that, hey, that'd be helpful, Chet. I appreciate it. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. Appreciate the update. So Richard, can we move on to item 6?
Yeah.
Regarding the transportation improvement program?
Yeah, we can. And yeah, thank you, Ivan, for bringing that up. So for the sake of time, we can carry forward any extensive more and further discussion on these particular topics when we reach to the section during the day. But it looks like we'll probably be going over or overlapping into the next section, but that's okay. I'll go and finish going over the recommendations and corrective actions that took place at the last 2017 certification review. And because I think the first section, the section that we're overlapping into, the organization and structure of the MPO, you actually answered a lot of those questions I had. So I only have maybe a couple left over. But moving forward, item number 6, this is in regards to the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, development and project selection. In 2017, it was recommended that the MPO develop a description of the smart scale project selection and funding process similar to the RRTPO and CMAQ project selection process. Could Richmond update us on that?
Sure, and this is where I guess we have taken direction not to do that, to develop a description of the smart scale project selection process. even though we are using a similar process to rank and score RSTP and CMAQ projects, the Smart Scale project process is specific to VDOT. And we've noted now that we're in the fourth iteration of that each year, each cycle, the process changes. So we thought it would be somewhat duplicative and redundant if we tried to provide updates each time that VDOT did. We are getting very good at linking and providing opportunities for people to see the VDOT process as transparently as we can. So we have focused on describing the project selection process and how it, I guess, relates and connects to Smart Scale for our own sub-allocated funds. But we've left the overall project description for Smart Scale to the experts on the VDOT side.
Hey, thanks for the update, Chet. Richard, we can move on to item 7.
Item number 7 is under Title VI, Civil Rights and Non-Discrimination. This recommendation recommended that the MPO, in cooperation with VDOT and DRPT and GRTC, to reassess the Plan 2040 to include analysis of regional measures such as accessibility to opportunities, including employment and education, healthcare, et cetera.
Yes, I can address that, and we have made those accommodations, and I'd be happy to discuss that in more detail under the long range plan discussion later today.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, good.
And number 8, under Title VI items, it was recommended that the identification of a Title VI coordinator with knowledge and understanding of the effective implementation of the Title VI non-discrimination program or the acting Title VI coordinator be trained to effectively implement the Richmond's Title VI program.
Yes, and actually, Richard, if it's okay, I'll address 8 and 9 together. We have been in contact with VDOT and the Title VI division there over the past year, and have taken on the full revision of our Title VI plan. It's a completely new standalone document. This was not an update. It was a new effort. We solicited assistance from an outside consultant to help us develop the plan, to make sure that we were not wearing any particular tint of glasses, and that we were thinking comprehensively about the Title VI role that we see, and how the Title VI plan can be institutionalized here, and how it connects to all the different planning processes that we do. Through that process, we have designated Martha Heater, our executive director, as our Title VI coordinator, and also incorporated Title VI training through our work with this outside consulting firm and a team of on-call consultants, so that our staff is up to speed on the new Title VI plan, and how those accommodations should be made, what to do situationally, and how to address Title VI issues when they are raised by our partner organizations as well as the general public.
Hey, Chet, for clarification purposes, Martha is she the Title VI coordinator for the MPO, PDC, and CBTA?
She is the Title VI coordinator for the MPO and the PDC. We have not had action from the CBTA to make that designation, although it would make sense just in terms of overlap and staffing. One of the things, just so you know, that we are doing now, Plan RVA is actively searching and has advertised for a public engagement coordinator. Our expectation is that person would step in the next month, hopefully, and part of their role would be to take over that responsibility as Title VI coordinator.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Next item was public meeting. The recommendation was that the Richmond MPO board identify opportunities that demonstrate attention and response to the CTAC, EDAC, and the public regarding transit, transportation, regional accessibility and mobility, and economic opportunity.
Yes, we have made the role of the CTAC more visible in terms of the overall planning process that the TPO undertakes. I think that the policy board looks to the CTAC now as another set of advisors. The CTAC has taken upon itself to develop its own agendas according to its membership, and regularly has 2 to 3 speakers for each meeting, talking about issues that are relevant to the community and topics that CTAC members have identified, including things like mobility, electric vehicles, depending on the month, freight movement in the region, lots of different exciting topics for people to engage with. The other role that the CTAC has right now is to advise and provide support or reporting back to the policy board on upcoming agenda items, so that they understand in a similar fashion as the TAC what the recommendations are, and the feelings of each of the advisory committees in terms of whether they should take action to approve, deny, continue some of the upcoming agenda items. The CTAC itself has folded in members of the EDAC and the previous subcommittees that the TPO has held. The membership has stayed strong. We do continue to have discussions regarding expansion of the CTAC membership as needed, and that's an ongoing discussion that is being had, especially as we kind of define a role for our public engagement coordinator, soon to be hired, as well as the equity and accessibility discussions that are happening in the community right now. So I believe that the CTAC is healthy and is flexible in terms of who it represents and how they can be how they can serve the policy board and the decision makers moving forward.
Chet, this is Ivan. Hey, listen, I appreciate that update. Yeah, we felt that as though this particular item, transit and regional accessibility, was so significant that we needed to bring the question to the MPO board. We felt coming out of the certification review, as shall I say, our meeting with your CTAC, that some of the members or a member was going to file a transit-related civil rights complaint based on the concerns that, frankly, we've been hearing since 2000 with respect to regional transit. As a matter of fact, I think in your current long-range transportation plan, transit accessibility ranked as your top issue. But this time, members of the CTAC and EDAC were raising the issue as a civil rights issue, more specifically the NAACP and the League of Women Voters. So that is, one of the reasons why we felt that it's important to elevate it beyond the staff and to pose the question directly to the elected officials sitting on the MPO board.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ivan. I think one of the other things that we have done is, especially specific to the long-range plan, is this time around when we developed our long-range plan advisory committee, which essentially has guided the process. CTAC has multiple members that sit on that advisory committee. We have enlisted their assistance to involve their constituents. We've gone out to the different community groups that the CTAC represents and made sure that we were available and accessible to hear their concerns. I think obviously we're more than willing to adjust and grow the CTAC the best way to serve the region. So I appreciate the feedback.
Thanks, Chet.
Hey, Chet, this is Ryan. Does CTAC have a standing agenda or item on the board meetings for like a brief back every?
Yes, thanks, Ryan. The chair of the CTAC has a standing item on the regular board agenda to provide updates and feedback from the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chet. Moving on, the last item in the 2017 recommendations and corrective actions list is a corrective action under agreements. It was recommended that the state and Richmond MPO develop and execute a written agreement among the Richmond TPO, Tri-Cities MPO, GRTC, Petersburg Area Transit, and the state that describes how the planning process will be coordinated to assure development of the consistent metropolitan transportation plans and tips across the MPA boundaries. This also includes a reflection of coordinated data collection, analysis, and planning assumptions across the Richmond Tri-Cities urbanized area.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Richard. Those agreements have been finalized, and everything is in place so that this item has been addressed. Mr. Swakowski is with us today, I believe, too. So we're all together on this.
Yes, I agree too. That's a lot of work by your predecessor, Barb Nelson, in helping putting that all together for us both.
Thanks, Ron and Chet.
All right, thank you, everybody. So showing the agenda here, we did go over time, but we'll just transition right now into the next section, which is the overview of transportation plan organization, which includes committee structure, agreements, boundaries, and self-certifications. To jump right in, I only have a couple questions since you actually answered a lot of my questions during the preliminary discussion. I guess my first question is, within the Central Virginia region, please describe if where Richmond and Tri-Cities share geographic portions or anticipate sharing in the future. And please describe how the MPOs already collaborate or plan to collaborate across jurisdictional lines to ensure connectivity between modes, improve access to modal systems, and to promote efficient overall transportation investment strategies.
Sure. So we do share geographic portions in Chesterfield County. There is overlap, not overlap. I mean, Chesterfield serves in both capacities with Tri-Cities as well as Richmond. And we do collaborate in terms of some of the regional projects that are underway. The Fall Line is a great example of that. That's in the news right now and everyone's talking about. There's a lot of excitement about it. It's the regional trail system extending north-south from Ashland all the way to Petersburg. So there's lots of opportunity for interaction and collaboration with projects such as that. And it does cross jurisdictional lines. We do have, I guess through that process, in addition to the work that Ron and I have done to coordinate between our different committees, we have also been able to serve on advisory committees with VDOT as they developed some of the guidance plans for the Fall Line. Other opportunities, obviously, with Interstate 95 crossing the boundaries of both of the MPAs. VDOT has done some studies in the past year where all of us have been able to come together and provide feedback to the state in terms of agreed upon improvements that impact both MPAs together. So those types of conversations have happened. We are looking forward to additional opportunities to discuss rail and multi-state rail in the Southeast corridor. There have been a lot of exciting updates from the state this past year, and I think that Ron and I both are looking forward to being able to continue those discussions at a regional scale once more information is known and a more detailed schedule is laid out. So that will be a great opportunity to coordinate all of our resources together and make those updates.
Thank you, Chet. Appreciate that. The next question is, let me see how we can word this. I guess, is there any coordination between the Richmond MPO and Tri-Cities MPO when it comes to policy board interaction, or whenever, say, there's comments that comes from the public to the policy boards? Or is there any sharing between that? And how is that considered in the planning process when comments are received, and how responses are documented?
I'll say that I don't think there's no formalized communication between policy board members. That really has happened at a staff level. Ron serves on our has attended and serves on a number of our committees, and myself or other staff from Richmond serve likewise capacities with Tri-Cities. So when there are comments, we are easily reached and share that information at the staff level so that we can make sure that our technical and policy board members are aware of the comments. We do also have other coordinated efforts outside of transportation. Emergency management is one of the areas that we do coordinate at the PDC level, at the planning district level, as well as environmental programs and hazard mitigation, other types of things. So there's opportunities for elected officials to interact, but nothing formalized at this point.
All right, thank you, Chet. And the next question is, when it comes to self-certification for the MPO, could you describe what process or procedures are used to self-certify the planning process for Richmond MPO?
We do have our, let me think about that. We have greatly improved our online presence in the past year, providing multiple opportunities and avenues for members of the public and people who are observing our processes to provide comments and feedback to staff and elected officials. We have tried to make ourselves more available and transparent in terms of the work that we do and how we can best represent our member jurisdictions to the community. So I guess I would ask, maybe for the first time this morning, I'm a little bit of a loss for words. Is there any specific examples or instances where you might provide more information on what you're looking for?
Yeah, yes, of course. I guess if you could describe opportunities that are provided for public comment and how are comments typically addressed. Okay,
yeah, sure. That depends on the situation, obviously, but if it's specific to a plan or a process, we develop at the outset of the process an engagement plan that outlines the ways that we envision the community and staff and local jurisdictions to be involved, so that it provides a schedule and identifies the opportunities at each phase in the process. And as I said, those may be Those may be online comment forums. Those may be in-person opportunities. There's probably going to be virtual meetings. We do record all of our, every meeting that we've had in the last 18 months has been recorded to YouTube for later viewing. So there is that additional record right now for anybody to go back and view. We've established multiple email boxes and provide those opportunities for input and comment with all of our communications and outreach programs. I've been trying to, as much as possible, speak directly to boards of supervisors and elected officials at their local meetings to provide updates on what we're doing at the TPO and receive direct feedback from them at that juncture as well. And then the CBTA, as we mentioned earlier, is another opportunity for overlap between the PDC, the TPO, and the new authority. So a lot of the same elected officials serve on the CBTA and are able to interact with staff and each other in another forum.
Perfect. Thank you, Chad.
Hey, Richard, follow-up question with respect to the certification documentation. Chad, I was when we take a look at that certification form, and then I'm just going off the top of my head, it states that the MPO, state and transit operators conducting a process, planning process, programming process that consistent with the 23 CFR 450 to 23 USC, I believe it's 134, 135. But those reference the planning code and the planning regulations. Beyond that, everything else is civil rights and non-discrimination. We certify that the planning process is consistent with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, Americans with Disability Act, Older Americans Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Is there any documentation that you present to the board when you take the program, the tip to the board and ask, in this case, perhaps the chairman to append his or her signature to the certification statement? And also the question is the VDOT. And of course, it's because the certification statement is jointly signed by the MPO and the state. What documentation are you carrying with you to assist either the chairman as well as VDOT with a level of comfort that it's okay to append my signature to the certification statement because I'm looking at the documentation and I feel as though there's a level of comfort for me to say that this planning process, planning and program development process for the Richmond Metropolitan planning area is consistent with Title VI and non-discrimination statutes, as well as the planning statutes.
So yes, that was in our Title VI review with VDOT. That was one of the items that was raised, that we didn't have a consistent, we didn't have consistent coverage across all of our programs and policies. So when we redid the Title VI plan, that was one of the components, was that we made sure that the language that we append to each of our plans and reports and processes is consistent and outlines in more detail what we follow and how we address those needs. So we have had the Title VI training in the last 4 months, and this is one of those areas where we're still growing, and we're trying to make sure that all of our bases are covered. With it being so fresh, I do think that VDOT may have other opinions or other information to share. Just so you all know, we are still not fully back in the office.
Right.
So that adds another level of difficulty in terms of getting staff on the same page. But that's one of the things that we are actively pursuing, is to strengthen that process across the board.
Thank you, Chair. VDOT, would you like to weigh in? Okay. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Chet. I guess a follow-up question to just to self-certification in general is what is provided when the self-certification is approved, what documentation and information is provided to the policy board and the other committees?
Actually, I would ask, is that something I can research in the break and bring back to you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can follow up on that. Okay. Are there any other items that the federal team has questions on or would like to make comments on?
I have one. It's more of a softball. So this is but it's related, but it is an important issue. As you know, it's obviously 2020 was a US Census update, right? So US Census is in the process of updating the urbanized area map boundaries. I have to ask this. Has there been any discussion MPO-wise about possibilities of MBO boundary changes in the Richmond urbanized area? I mean, is there any, or you just don't want to deal with it maybe until it happens? That's perfectly fine too.
That's a great question, Ryan. And it's actually something that, yes, the policy board has taken up in the last year.
Okay, good.
Our urbanized area was already larger than the census designation in terms of the MPO boundary. And the policy board took action, I believe, in December to expand the MPO, the metropolitan boundary to our entire planning district boundary, so that that area matches now with the PDC, the CBTA, and the TPO. So it's the full boundaries of all 9 jurisdictions, would all be considered urban. And there's probably a couple different reasons for that. The first is the planning funds, the rural planning funds that we were able to access from VDOT have not had as great an impact in the past few years as they were previously. And I think the bigger reason is with our accessibility to STBG and CMAQ funds, our rural jurisdictions saw the opportunity there and asked to pursue the expansion of the boundaries so that their entire geographic area would be accessible and they could apply on the same page as say a Chesterfield or a Henrico to access those sub-allocated funds and make improvements to a larger scale at the rural level.
Good. No, I'm glad the discussions are starting. The expansion of the boundary probably will occur, right? it's like you're already taking the steps toward that, identifying some of the implications of that.
Yes, it was actually approved, and so we asked to delay that change so that we can make sure all of our programs and policies were in line. That will actually take place on October 15th. Is the date when that expansion is official.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Chap. Are there any questions or comments from the state partners? Okay, sounds like there's none. Looks like we're back on schedule. So the next step is we'll go ahead and take our break, and let's plan to reconvene at 10:25.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Richard, can I ask a question housekeeping wise?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are recording these to YouTube. what I'd like to do is end this session so that it's a shorter period. And then if everybody could just go back to the Zoom link and join back in at 10:30, we'll start a new recording then. So we'll have each segment as a standalone recording.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So basically just have everybody exit out, and then when we reconvene, then everyone logs back in.
Yes, please.